Hello and welcome everyone in another episode of Researcher Celebrity. Today we have Dr. Rupeesh Chikhale with us. A brief intro and I'll try to keep it short. So Dr. Chikhale has done his bachelor's. So he started as a diploma in pharmacy, then bachelor's, master's and PhD, all of them in pharmaceutical sciences. But between master's and PhD, he took his time being a lecturer in pharmacy college and then joined PhD later. After PhD, he did his PG diploma in intellectual property rights also, after which he joined ACTREC Mumbai as a research associate and then moved to MS University Baroda by a DS Kothari fellowship, which is very esteemed fellowship in India for postdoctoral work. And then he was awarded as NPDF by SERB DST also, but he joined University of Manchester as Newton International Fellow, following which he moved to University of College London in School of Pharmacy, and presently he's research and application scientist at Cambridge Crystallography Data Center. With this brief introduction, I would like to welcome Dr. Rupesh at the platform.
Hello.
So, Dr. Rupesh, how we start the conversation at our Researcher Celebrities, how and when you decided that you want to be a researcher?
That's a very interesting question. So this happened, it was not a spontaneous thing, but when I used to, when I was in sixth or seventh standard, I think, I used to get very much fascinated with the periodic tables and having the periodic table. I used to like, I tried to learn it by heart. Well, it didn't happen, but I was much fascinated with chemistry and science and how the molecules are synthesized or produced. Then we had an interesting turn. There was like some practical in chemistry or science subject where we tried to crystallize certain things in regular practicals of chemistry. And then that fascination grew that, okay, I want to do this. And that's how it started. Then the same thing, the race for board exams and all the stuff went on. And things like people were like peers and parents and friends. They were like, oh, we need to be an engineer. I need to be a doctor. So it was like a conflict of mind. What I want to do, I want to do science, whichever it may be an engineer, be a doctor. It doesn't matter to me. At the end, I landed into a pharmacy course due to certain reasons, and I did my diploma there. Then I thought that this is not it. It's like I learned how to do formulations, a little bit of synthesis in there, studying pharmacology, how to administer drug to the rodents and frogs and all those experiments. They are like, it gave me a boost that, okay, I need to continue this. I can't stop here at a diploma course. So I did my bachelor's and then master's in pharmaceutical chemistry. So there it was like, okay, so these things, the courses, the practical works, the lab works, and the theory, they were just like nourishment to my thoughts and my passion that, okay, this is what I want to do. And that's how I did my master's. Later, I had opportunity to move on into either teaching or into research. So due to certain family reasons, I had to stay in my hometown, that's Nagpur. So I started in pharmacy college as a lecturer and taught students. It was very interesting because I found that this is a profession where you can learn, you can understand, and you can percolate your understanding, your learning to the students, the next generation as well. So that's one of the things that I continue still. I teach students wherever I get an opportunity or give lectures or courses to students. Then I moved on to my PhD, where I chose my subject, which was of most interest, chemistry, that is drug design and discovery. And 5 years just was like they flew away with no time because a lot of work was there, a lot of interesting topics I touched into. I traveled a lot into different institutions to work there to understand. For example, I visited UIPS, Punjab University. There I stayed and learned some new techniques. I moved into University of Hyderabad, that's Central University of Hyderabad School of Chemistry. I learned more of crystallography there. It was a nice journey, and this kept helped me grow in this particular area of interest. Yeah, that
So,
was
so when you started your master's, you had a thought that you will do PhD?
no. I didn't
Okay.
had a thought of doing PhD because I have during each of the stage, I used to analyze that, okay, this is done, what next? But why next? That was always important question for me. And I was very fortunate that in my college there was a thinking tree.
Mm-hmm.
It was like there was a secular tree where you can sit and think that, okay, do you want to do next? Go for PhD or you want to go for teaching? And then I experimented that thing
Mm-hmm.
after my master's. Let us try teaching first, and if you think that this is not much of a satisfaction to you, then you move to the other stage of research. That's PhD.
Mm-hmm. So, you mentioned that there was a thinking tree, and for you, it was like why to do next. That is very important, and that's how the core of all the researchers lies in, like how and why. Why do you want to do this? Here, I would like to tell all of our viewers that going for PhD is a good thought, but you have to give due thought to that also, that why you want to do that and what you will achieve out of it, like what are your expectations out of PhD. That has to be very clear, and this helps in reducing the struggle in PhD. So, Dr. Rupesh, how was the struggle, or it's just say how was the journey of your PhD then?
Yeah, so it was quite interesting. First of all, I would like to add into here that doing a PhD is something that really need to be given a lot of thought. First of all, what are your goals, your aims in your life? Do you want to earn a lot of money? Do you want to follow your passion? Or do you want to have a balance of both? It depends on, these are the very few important questions that need to be addressed by yourself, and nobody can influence that.
Mm-hmm.
You can take advice, seek advice, try to understand the thing, because dedicating 5 years of your life is something that has to be taken very seriously. And you have to decide. There are several factors as well, like what kind of PhD you want to do. It's like, is it an industry-sponsored PhD? Whether you're doing PhD in fundamental sciences, applied sciences, engineering, a lot of other things to be taken into consideration. Mine was more derived out of passion, and along with that, I had to think of few other factors. Those were personal factors about parents, because I lost my father when I was in graduation, doing my graduation. That is third year of Bachelor of Pharmacy, and in case if you want to get admission into masters, you need to give examinations. For example, GATE. At that time, GATE was the exam for crossing the barrier and getting some kind of funds from the government to carry on or pursue your education. I did not crack that GATE in 2006 because my father passed away, and after a week, the exam was there, and it was complete mess. I was not in a state of mind. But in my fourth year, I cracked that GATE with 99 percentile. So it was like a motivating factor that, okay, I have something with me that can help me gain in the future. Well, that was the thing that happened. But in case of PhD, I started looking into various institutions because the friends and teachers and my postgraduate guide, uh, Professor Parashar, he said that try to do it in IITs or NITs or something like that. And like, all right. So I again gave the gate and crossed and had interviews, but the interviews didn't went well with respect to few of the IITs. IIT Guwahati offered me, but see, the luck. There were like some terrorist activities in that duration. There were a lot of bomb blasts going on in Guwahati, and My mother was terrified, like, no, you're not going anywhere. Then I had opportunity at BR, what is it? I don't remember. It is Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Center for Biomedical Sciences. It is in University of Delhi. I don't remember it correctly, but there is something like this. So I had that opportunity, but when you think that, okay, now I need to stay in this place, then let us do it. So I opted for University Department of Pharmaceutical Sciences. My guide there, Professor Pramod Khedekar, who is now the HOD of the department, he was a very nice person. He gave a lot of liberty of thinking, not putting me into a particular domain or something. He said that for first 6 months, look, learn and understand what you want to do. If you want to change your topic, you're free to do that, because at the end of the day, what impacts is on you. Um, if you are not interested in certain topic, you won't be productive. If you are interested in certain topic, definitely do that. It will make you productive, as well as you will get some good results out of it. That's what had happened. And with my experience from masters, I learned that doing mere synthesis, designing molecules on paper won't help into getting some really new active molecules. So I worked very hard on learning computational editor design tools, where I started with molecular docking and dynamic simulations, basics of them, and tried to pursue. At that moment, I thought that, okay, this is how I should be continuing with different moieties and scaffolds towards different kind of disease targets that I was looking for. And that was my first year. First and second year was like more of learning, understanding, setting up the protocol, setting up right equipment for my experiments. So those were the things. And my supervisor was super, super supportive in that direction, and I will be always thankful to him for these things. Then, yeah, things happened, fall into right places, and I got some licensed softwares and some free tools to use, learn, and there were some kind people who like responded over mail that, okay, you can do this and that. Very fortunate on that regard. So yeah, I learned molecular modeling. A lot of it happened in that duration. I was very fortunate to learn more of bioinformatics during that period of time, which I applied into my thesis work and research. So there were really nice outputs of that. There was a patent as well we filed, and it was awarded later. So it was a nice journey. Now, whenever there was certain issues with respect to, look, in India, not all the institutions have all the facilities. At least the state universities, they have a lot of issues. But many of the students might not know, but UGC has started some programs like Center for Excellences, which has the facility for hosting students from other universities.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so the center is funded by the government, so they don't have to. So you don't have to beg them for getting entry into that. So
Mm-hmm.
you have a direct route to accessing those instruments and expertise. And the professors there are really nice and kind people. They do teach you and give you or educate you in that particular area. That's how I was able to learn crystallography in first place. So that was a University of Hyderabad I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of publications came out of these things. It's like 5 to 6 papers out of PhDs. I think quite quite a thing in duration of 5 years. So things kept me motivated, and that's what created a platform, a base for me for my future. And if you see that now I'm working in a crystallography data center, that is a unique database center from the which is a part and parcel of the Cambridge University. So I learned crystallography in 2013 under Professor M. V. Rajsekharan at the University of Hyderabad School of Chemistry. And at that time I came to know that, okay, you have to deposit your crystal structures into such database and you
Mm-hmm.
get an. Now I'm the person who does that thing while sitting into the CCDC, that I take into the consideration, oh, these are the depositions coming up,
Mm-hmm.
how they look, and analyze and At some point, I may provide them the accession number, but more, I'm more towards the discovery side of the CCDC.
Nice.
So yeah,
So this is like traveling the path from depositing and somebody else is validating your work to validating someone else's work. This is brilliant. And in fact, here I would like to tell all of our viewers that Dr. Rupesh has just mentioned about the Center of Excellence's UGC support. So if you think that you are stuck in somewhere for your because of no collaborations or because of lack of funding instruments, whatever, you should look into that. And then always there are always points in research. You always have to connect those dots to get where you want. And Dr. Rupesh just made one of that part very clear, and I hope you guys will be benefited with that. So, Rupesh, when you did your PhD, after that, what was the first thought? Because you did a quite a journey, starting from, as we mentioned, depositing the crystal structure to now validating them. So,
yeah,
this journey, how this went, and what was the initial thought when you just submitted your thesis?
yeah. So I started actually applying for postdoc positions because I didn't want to go or start with industries. Sorry. In case of industries in India, there is lack of research and development, at least in pharmaceutical sciences. What we have in India in case of pharmaceutical sciences is formulation and development, that is F&D. So it's more of a pharmaceutical subject from pharmacy that is being explored in case of industries in India. Indian pharmaceutical market is more of generic nature, right? They are production based. So the research base is very small, even if it is there. That was a question, and that was a challenge as well. So I thought that why not to explore research centers within India, to stay in India and work, and that may help me gain into some position or get into another, I don't know, another challenge or something. I started looking into, and what I found that ACTREC was a place where they do research, and they have two wings of that particular institution. It's a very nice institute to work in and to start with. So they have two wings. One is basic research and one is clinical research, and those two buildings are joined with a bridge. So, it's like a symbolism that we are doing some basic research and we will try to apply this research into the clinical settings. And it touched me that, okay, now this is the place I can go in. I had no approach, nobody known. I even didn't heard a name from there. So I started looking for people in there who could host me or something like that. I came across a lab from no, Professor Prasanna Venkatraman. So I never met her. It was only email conversations, and but when you read some emails, you understand the language and the sentences speaks to you. You don't need to read them; they speak to you sometimes. And like, okay, this is the person I should be looking for and working with. And fortunately, she had a position in her PSMD10 project, and she said, "Why not join me?" And I was like, "Yeah, bro, why not?" But it was like between my viva and all the stuff, and she was very kind to say that, "Okay, finish up with your viva and all the stuff, and then you can come." And I took my degree with the valedictory function. I packed my bag, and the next day I was on train to Mumbai. Yeah, that's how I started the journey, and it was my first interaction with her was amazing. She is a very nice lady. No, no measure of depth of her knowledge. So yeah, yeah, I started there, and my job was there to do some modeling studies and molecular docking exercises to find out some molecules. So I think this was the place where I started with drug repurposing.
Mhm.
It's like how to repurpose the drug. It was a new concept at that moment, and not many people were doing or looking into it. But she liked the idea that if we can use already known drug onto a particular type of cancer, then why not? Because you don't have to take approvals, right? You don't have to reinvent the wheel. It is already there. You just have to repurpose it for a different purpose. And yeah, so a molecule clicked and they worked very hard on it because I stayed there only for 6 months and I moved on to a fellowship. It was a very hard decision, but had to make. um, and I'm still attached to them. I still connected with them. I still talk to the students, talk to her. Now she is, I think, director of the institute. So she is now a very busy person, but the other people from the lab are still connected with me even after 6 years now. And recently we published that work in European Journal of Pharmacology, where doxorubicin can be used into other cancers as well. Not applied clinically, of course, but it is proved that it hits that particular target. So yeah, that was that was the point where I started my research into what I can say more of a professional setting.
But this is something very interesting that now when the world is looking for drug repurposing, especially because of COVID, so many drugs has been used, repurposed for the use. You guys were doing this in so early stages. What was the reason behind that? Why you want to repurpose the drug?
Yeah, see, drug discovery takes like almost now it is more enhanced. It takes at least 10 years for a molecule to come from lab. And if it is fortunate to go through all the wheels of clinical trials, approvals, and then coming into the market. And that too, you don't know at what stage it will just get rejected. So, for example, if you have cancer, different type of cancers are there, a number of cancers, and there are thousands of molecules that has been tried and tested for particular cancers.
Mhm.
Now, there are several hundred molecules that has been approved by the FDA for treatment of a particular kind of cancer. What if that particular drug is also useful for some other cancer or unknown cancer or more recently discovered kind of cancer?
Mhm.
So there is nothing wrong in using that drug because it has been clinically tried and tested. It has been proved that okay, this is safe to consume, use, and it has been cleared by the agencies, like for example, FDA from USA. Now, if that drug can be reused for some other cancer, you are saving a lot of time, lot of money, and a lot of pain
Mhm.
for the patient because they will get something that is ready to use there.
Nice.
That's why drug repurposing is really a good idea. There's nothing wrong in that. I was motivated from one of the paper published in 2013-14 by John Wells.
Mhm.
So this guy, he works in US and he started with high throughput screenings. It's like he used to test the drug directly into the cell lines or the target molecules, millions of drug molecules with robots, with the help of robots. So my idea was, of course, it was not a unique idea. Many people were doing this, but I thought that I don't have that facility to test these million of molecules into such thing, and I don't have that kind of funds. Why not to use in silico tools, which I can control, which are in my control. I have licenses for those softwares, and I can do it easily. So that's what was applied in case of Actrec, and we found something that was positive.
Nice. So when you moved from ACTREC and got funded by DS Kothari Fellowship, now the question is like you had the option for availing the National Postdoctoral Fellowship offered by SERB to you, and you had a Newton International Fellowship. So the reasons can be obvious, but for our viewers, if you can share that you chose the international fellowship and how was that decision?
So it's yeah, it's an interesting thing. Why I stayed back in India before I joined. It was like while I joined into or while I made the applications for NPDF or DS Kothari or even joining Actrec was family reasons. That's
Mhm.
because my wife was also doing her PhD and my mother was there, my kid was there. He was like 1 year old. So I thought that it is not fair to just move on with your career and fly out of country. So I wanted to support them in some way or the other. That's why I stayed. But when my wife was, she completed her lab work, and my kid was more stable, stable in the sense he grew up like 2 years, 3 years, 3 years old. So she supported me that if you want to go outside, please you can try now because I'm more able to look after my mother as well as the kid. So she was the person who supported me in this endeavor, and I made the application and was very fortunate and very thankful to the PI at the University of Manchester, Dr. Richard Bryce, who helped me in drafting those proposals. So that was the point, and I got the results at the same time. You can do NPDF at IIT Gandhinagar, or you can do Newton International Fellowship at the University of Manchester. So I discussed this with my family, and they said, "Okay, there is no logic in staying back if you can and if you have the opportunity." So yeah, it was not just like my single decision, but it was like a family decision that okay. So for Indians, and I think for all of us, family is the first thing
Yes,
of reference to. So being a scientist doesn't mean that you have to leave everything behind. You have to take care of everything. Balance is the most important
absolutely.
thing.
In fact, this is the time where we should always tell our viewers also that you always have these decisions to make, which in future only you can say that was a right or a wrong decision. But the point where when you're deciding it, you have to consider and try to make it in a way that you should not, or at least the maximum possibility that you will not regret it, as Dr. Rupesh has done for his life. So when it was required, the family was the priority. He did that. He served it. With the family permission, he moved out of India for a distinguished fellowship also. It was it should have been a very obvious decision for most of us just to move out of India, but still discussing with families. And there is this famous saying that people say that behind every successful man there is a woman. Here you can see the live example. Dr. Rupesh has proven it, right? Also, so then after completing the international fellowship, Newton International Fellowship, you joined University College of London, and then now presently at Cambridge. How the research has evolved and how the researcher has evolved in you, because now these days the new tools are developing way faster than any time else.
Yeah.
We are at this strong pace where especially in silico studies the new softwares are coming which can cut down the timeline from 10 years to 1 year and probably sometimes even faster. With this pace, how you have seen a researcher in you evolve with the technology.
Yeah. So, yeah, the decision to make an application at University of Manchester under Richard Bryce was the reason behind these in silico tools. He's expert in quantum mechanics, quantum chemical calculations, and drug discovery and drug design. So I joined him for the reason to learn high performance computing because those facilities were not available, at least for me in India. We don't have many of these facilities in India. There are certain institutes with certain groups having those limited facilities. Maybe now the scenario might have changed in the last 6 or 7 years, but at that point, I didn't have any access to those. I used to have only one my computer and used to work on that. So when I moved into University of Manchester, I learned different aspects of modeling. For example, molecular dynamic simulations and doing or performing calculations on big clusters, access to supercomputers like Jade in the UK. So that really enhanced my skills and helped me learn a lot. I was very fortunate to have really nice colleagues at the University of Manchester who were like always helpful and had a lot of students around to work with. Uh, so that gave me different dimension of understanding into these modeling studies and in silico tools. Now, once you get some knowledge or once you are equipped with skills, you need to apply them somewhere. So I was looking for unique problems that these skills can be applied for, or there is a lacune where you can help in bringing up the science. So I was more motivated into focusing rather than on proteins towards nucleic acids. So I thought that nucleic acids is an area. This was 2019. There was no sign or symbols of any virus coming up or anything going on. that way. So I was looking into nucleic acids and canonical and non-canonical structures like beta strands in case of DNA. Or so my focus was on non-canonical structures, for example, G quadruplexes or the I motifs, which are the non-standard structures we call, but they are dominant and they are there, which we prove with the different publications from our labs. So my goal was to apply these in silico tools. Then I talked with this PI, Dr. Zoe Waller at the UCL now. So she was like, okay, let us do. But it's not that I'm looking only for in silico studies. What else you can do? I said, I can do synthesis. I can do biophysical studies. I can do in vitro assays. And like she's like, how? She was like, yeah. So that was a point where I moved from no, so I had two skills now. One was the lab-based skills, and the other one was in silico skills. So I applied both of them in this project. So this project was funded by the Diabetes UK. We were looking into the telomeric region of DNAs, where these non-canonical structures are formed. We have reported certain research in JAKs and nucleic acid research, NAR, from our lab. We have certain new molecules that we are looking into, and maybe they are going to get patented at some point. So still under investigation because cell biologists, they take their time to do all kind of research. Yeah, so after the funding, I thought, miss like CCDC was like looking for some scientist who had some knowledge with respect to chemistry as well as modeling studies. So it was like a headhunting, anyways. But they hired me in this particular position. So what I'm trying to say is that during this journey, I evolved from a chemist into a medicinal chemist, then from medicinal chemist into a computer-aided drug designer, and then their application of this CAD techniques into medicinal chemistry back. Now I am looking into a holistic approach where uh, I'm responsible for looking after tools, new in silico tools, develop new in silico tools and technologies at this particular institution. So here I'm looking after how to advance the docking tools. Now, when you ask about the advances, there is a quick pace advance in last 3 years because of what we can say because of advance in the hardware and the software with respect to machine learning and artificial intelligence. So what is happening is that we are now trying to machine learning was always there since last 20 years. Thing was that we didn't knew how to improve it. But with the improvement in hardware, the speed of hardware, it is now possible to uh, apply or use big data into machine learning modules or algorithms. So for example, let us say random forest method. It was there. I used random forest method in 2013 for one of my research work, but it was small data that could be handled. Now I can handle huge amount of data for the same set of algorithm. And still we say that, oh, it's a machine learning. So it is just a rebranding of that particular thing in a way. But however, we should accept that it has really given a boost to drug discovery, to a lot of fields, other fields, but especially in drug discovery. AI tools have came up and they are doing amazing jobs. Now, for example, there are generative methods where you don't have to give a particular molecule or a hit molecule for a particular target. You just define the target and it will start to grow a benzene molecule into a proper ligand or a proper drug molecule. So this is how the evolution of science has taken place, and I have been trying to riding that wave.
Nice. So now we have discussed the science part, the how the researcher and research has evolved. We did talk about family, and one thing which probably we can talk now because we are already walking almost at the edge of the conversation. So the societal contribution a researcher can do. So I know about how you are taking educating students from here and giving your time. Because this is something which we have to understand, as being a researcher doesn't mean that you have to just be in lab or perform experiments, publish papers, patent your things. The societal contribution, that part has to be in there. And this is something which I learned at Tata institutions. So I believe that what you are doing is also very impactful and should be shared at the platform where we are talking about research and celebrating the research. So what you are doing, if you can share some of that too.
Yeah, so I always believe in giving back. So, for example, there are certain things that I do in my spare time, at least on the weekends, because other in the working days you don't have any much of the time. On weekends, like for example on Saturdays, most of the time Saturdays, and sometimes if needed on Sundays, I try to teach students different aspects of molecular modeling studies, because this is my specialty. I can teach maths, science, or anything, but a lot of people are there who can do that. But these particular specific studies, for example modeling studies, or certain parts of, or certain aspects of chemistry, can't be taught by everybody else or anyone else. So those are the things I try to share with students. So I try to teach students whoever approach me, but specifically from my old institutions, that is the University Department of Pharmaceutical Sciences. I have certain students who are doing their masters, some are doing their PhDs, and their colleagues or students from different other colleges or universities, or from even the remote places who don't have facilities but they want to study this or want to understand. So we have formed a WhatsApp group, and people join in that WhatsApp group. Then we arrange for a meeting, and I create a title, topic, agenda, and some subject matter which is shared, so that students know that okay, they are going to learn these things. They can read through wherever possible, from wherever possible, and then they connect with me for 2 to 3 hour session on Saturdays, where I try to teach them, educate them that okay, these are the new trends, these are the old trends, how to build up, how to learn, how to understand, and then teach them some fundamental aspects and build up on them, so that they learn these techniques and these can be useful for their future. Or if they don't want to continue education, they can go into industry or academia, wherever they want, and they can take this knowledge with them so that they can grow or build up onto it. So these are 2 to 3 hour session where they learn new techniques, how to use a software, or what to analyze, how to analyze the results when you do the things. So I provide with them with certain materials. Um, of course, they are like PDF documents, so I can share with them some chapters or book chapters or papers. Those are interesting or useful for them to educate into their specialization or their studies. I don't, so this is like a remote exercise. I cannot do in person since I'm quite a distant from the place where students are, but whoever wish to join, and they are welcome, and they do come. So I have like sometimes I have 6 students, sometimes I have 15 students. So depends on who want to learn what and how they are interested into it. So also I help in formulating their thesis for masters. So if they have project work, I do help with certain ideas that okay, you can do this, that, keeping in mind their limitations or their institution's limitations or their own limitations. So try to balance these things. So
And
it doesn't take a lot of time. You can watch a movie for 3 hours, or you can educate or teach someone in 3 hours. So it's
absolutely.
got it.
So
And
this is something which I would like to say to all of our viewers, that if you are a chemistry or a pharmacy student, now you got a free, the pass to those special classes, which is not a closed group, but because it was just not known to you, now you know the group. Feel free to join Dr. Rupesh. And for rest of our viewers, as well as for our prior celebrities and future research celebrities, what we believe is like philanthropy is not only giving money, it is about your time also. So what Dr. Rupesh is doing is worth appreciating and acknowledging, but his effort can only be fruitful if people who are learning that can use those tools to make their life better and in all whole to make human life better. So we would now say thank you to Dr. Rupesh Chikhale and to all of our viewers that feel free to write it to him. Or if you want to write to Empowering Science Foundation to put you in touch with our researcher celebrities, we would love to do that. Dr. Rupesh, now the concluding remarks. Do you believe that you are a researcher celebrity?
I'm just a simple researcher. I don't say that I'm a celebrity.
Okay.
Um, and it doesn't make a lot of difference, right?
How about this that at Researcher Celebrity, what we do is we celebrate research. You just said that you believe you are a researcher. Can now we call you Researcher Celebrity?
You can celebrate research, and I will enjoy that.
Absolutely. With this, we would like to say thank you for sparing time, for sharing your journey, and motivating a lot of brains, not only in India, but worldwide. Thank you very much, Dr. Rupesh. It was a
Thank
pleasure
you.
having you.